Okay, green light's on.
It's green now. You see that one?
It's green.
In the corner.
Okay.
Where?
In the corner.
The green
What
box.
corner?
The lower right-hand corner.
We're on now.
Where?
We're on the air.
Welcome to the Garden of the Spirit, a class
play
studying apples from the orchard. This class meets in Longmeadow, Massachusetts, the center of the universe,
There we go.
in memory of Malka Ruth Bas Moshe, Margaret Vogel of blessed memory. Apples from the Orchard contain selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, based on the weekly Torah portion, translated and explained by Rabbi Moshe Wisniewski. Study of Kabbalah studies mature subjects, takes a mature audience and a mature foundation in Torah. All right.
Over here anyway.
Today we are up to Parshas Kedoshim. Parshas Kedoshim is the parsha with the second most mitzvahs in Torah. So we have 613 mitzvahs, 53 or 54 sedras, so that would roughly be an average of 6 per sedra,
If we started right away, which we don't.
if we average. But in actuality, there are many parshas that have no mitzvahs. For example, in the entire book of Bereshis, I think there are 2 or 3.
Wow.
Out of 12 parshas. Shmos and Ve'era have none. So there are many parshas that don't have. And what do they call it? Distribution? There's an expression. So there is not a uniform distribution.
Does it fit the bell curve?
The bell curve, exactly. That's what I was thinking of. No, really. So Kiseitse has the most with 74. That's more than a tenth.
Yeah.
And Kedoshim is in second place with 51,
Which is less than a 10.
which is a little less than a tenth. The difference between Kiseitse and Kedoshim, a very stark difference. The mitzvahs in Kedoshim are very much like this week's mitzvahs in Mishpatim, where the Torah gives a story, a case for the lawyers. And it'll give a case and say, if such and such happens, then this is the law. In Kiseitse, if a man has 2 wives, he likes one, he doesn't like the other. One is loved, one's hated, and so on. In if you're, what was the other one I was thinking of? If you're going on the way, you see a bird's nest. Don't send away the mother bird. Don't take the eggs.
If the mother bird's there.
Right. So there's a case. There's a little story that goes with almost everything. In Kedoshim, what we're going to be learning now, is very different. It's more like a laundry list of mitzvahs. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, do that, don't do this. Sometimes even 3 in a pasuk. And it's not a big parsha. But there are 51 mitzvahs here. Here, in this pasuk, there are 2 mitzvahs. A person should fear his mother and father, and you should keep my mitzvahs. Actually, you should fear you should fear his mother and father, and keep my mitzvahs.
Sabbath.
You should fear.
Sabbath.
My Shabbos, you're right.
Sure.
What does it say? Fear.
Fear. Yeah, era.
And keep Shabbos.
Shabbos.
My Shabbases.
Shabbos, plural.
Plural Shabbases.
Plural Shabbos.
Keep. Yeah.
Okay? You can smell trouble coming.
More than one Shabbos.
Yep. Okay. So that is
More than
Kedoshim.
one, just one.
And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be starting off with one pasuk here. Okay, are we ready? Page 611. Kedoshim. Alan, go ahead.
Sabbath of the eighth king. Every man should fear his mother and father and keep my Sabbaths. I am Hashem, your Hashem. Rabbi Chaim Vital will begin his exposition of the Arizal's teachings by explaining why the word Sabbaths is in the plural when we would have expected the more usual singular form.
And this is from two writings of Chaim Vital, Likutei Torah and Sefer Likutim. They're brought here in parallel.
Now, by understanding the eighth king, as will be explained presently, you will understand the two Sabbaths the Torah refers to. For whatever mention is made of the Sabbath, it is mentioned twice. For example, this verse, keep my Sabbaths, and the Israelites will keep the Sabbath to make the Sabbath, etc. From this explanation, which will be given presently, you will also understand how those who say that our present sabbatical cycle is the second actually aired. According to the
Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the simple reading, the word Sabbaths means you keep it every week.
Yeah.
The Shabbos last week, keep it next week, the week after, and that's why it's plural. But here he's going to explain it a little differently.
Naturally, yeah. According to the sages of the Talmud, our world is destined to exist for no more than 7,000 years, 6 millennia of normal existence, followed by a millennium of rest. This seventh millennium time period is envisioned as one gigantic week. The 6 millennia of normal existence corresponding to the 6 workdays, and the millennium of rest and reward corresponding to Shabbos. In Kabbalah, this imagery is expanded to the sabbatical cycle of 6 years of field labor, followed by a year when the land is to lay fallow. The 6 years of agricultural work correspond to the 6 workdays and 6 millennia of normal existence, and the 7th sabbatical year to the Shabbos and the 7th millennium. Furthermore, just as the agricultural cycle consists of 7 sabbatical cycles totaling 49 years, followed by an additional year of rest, the Jubilee, so is the entire 7 millennium period of the world's existence only one of 7 such periods, which will be followed by a 50th Jubilee millennium.
Huh? Did you see that?
Again, hold on
Yeah.
a second.
you got-
So we are in a 7,000 year
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah. And on
Which one are
the,
we?
We're close to the end.
We're the first.
we're the first.
We're the first of the 49, out of the 49.
Well,
Yeah.
How do we
Yeah.
know that?
because what year are we?
No. My question is not, I understand that there's 7,000 years corresponding to 7 weeks, but what was just explained is
Are
that
the
the
49 then?
7,000
So we're,
of this world is inclusive within a set of
right.
49. So
But it doesn't say,
which
it doesn't say
set
that,
of
it doesn't say the
7,000?
numbering starts over again.
We're going to answer the question.
All right.
We'll
You
get
understand? Okay.
Hang it, okay?
It's amazing.
Go ahead.
You asking it.
Yeah, you see.
So in any
it's not
case, it
as-
says that there is a
Everything
50,000 year,
We'll fill-
Everything will fit.
we'll fill-
that there's a 50,000 year
That was law.
cycle, period.
You'll see.
But we're
Now-
supposed to last 7.
Here's this is what
There'll be
answers your
7 of
question.
them.
You ready?
That's what
He
it is.
says
There'll be
here that
7.
there'll be 7 cycles of 7,000.
So I'm asking which 7,000 are we in? That's my question.
Go ahead,
I
Alan.
said
Number 2.
Closer to the end.
Number,
you think-
now, according to some opinions, our present 7 millennium period is the second such period since the creation of the world. This is why the Torah begins with the letter base, the numerical value of which is 2. The Arizal, however, contends that this opinion is incorrect.
He said that they made a mistake. You'll also understand that those who say our present sabbatical cycle is a second erred.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, I didn't
Which came
understand
from
that.
before.
Right, no, I understand, okay.
That is what he
Yeah.
meant. Okay.
Where is the meter? Cluck, 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 cluck,
Hashem
cluck,
has
cluck,
it.
cluck.
Where's the meter? It's
meter.
it's iambic pentameter.
Oh, don't.
Let me see.
Okay,
know.
Jim? Okay, first bold on 612.
To explain, when Hashem,
Emanated.
Yeah, these
I
shouldn't
think
be
the
there.
word these should be out.
Yeah, I think so too.
Emanated the Tem Sifrot. He first emanated the first three. After this was the first supernal Sabbath. Okay? The Arizal now begins to describe the creation of the primordial world of Tohu, chaos. It is important to bear in mind that this imperfect version of creation was not a mistake or a miscalculation, but rather a necessary stage in the unfolding of creation.
Hold on. Rudy, did you process that?
That's why that's an absolute, we get.
Okay.
There are no errors. There are
yeah, so-
there are
There are no errors.
accidents.
But when we say, we talk about the Olam HaTohu, we talk about the creation that came first, where each ray of light
Couldn't be held.
couldn't be what?
Held.
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 It couldn't tolerate any other ray of light.
And it couldn't be held in any
Couldn't be,
vessel.
because it was
Sure,
too
yeah.
overpowering. What?
Sure, at the Canaan.
The Shviras HaKelem, too overpowering. That this wasn't a mistake where they turned on the jets too strong and blew everything away.
There are no accidents.
They're right. This was part of the process of creation. Okay, go ahead.
Hashem did not create time, of course, until he created our physical world. Before time, there was a sequential progression of spiritual steps leading to our universe. This sequence may be referred to as proto-time, although all these steps occurred simultaneously in an instant before the creation of the physical world. They followed a certain developmental order, which we as finite humans would experience eventually as real time. In this context, we may speak of the process of creation of the spiritual worlds preceding ours as if it happened in the context of what we call time. Since we have no other way of describing the sequence of progression, we must bear in mind, however, that time as we know it did not yet exist.
Which, in your own words, what he just said was,
What he just said was that this pre-creative stage, which was also a form, the stage before our physical world was created, was also a creation, and there was time. There wasn't time because time comes to be, in space comes to be, as there's really a descent, in my words,
a what?
a descent
Yeah.
from Atzilus, and I think time and space do not really appear till Yetzirah, as I remember from the Zohar. But time and space come later, and this is in this pre-creative process. Time and space, you can't think of it, but we have to think of it in those ways. So there was a sequential process, as we can think of it, but it was more instantaneous.
It's not called, to
That's
us,
that's how I would get it.
to us, the closest thing we have to describe it is time.
Yeah,
But
there-
that doesn't mean it took.
Time.
It took time. It doesn't mean it took
was an
7,000
instant.
years. Could be an
It was
instant.
an instant, as I get it, but
Creating the spiritual world.
yeah, the pre-physical world, the
pre-physical, yeah, which-
I call it Asiya,
the-
pre-physical.
So when the
That's why
Medrash,
spiritual.
Yeah.
famous Medrash that says that the Torah preceded the world by 2,000 years,
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean 2,000 years on our clocks.
Right.
Right.
It means 2,000 degrees, 2,000 levels.
The term 2,000 years, as is true a lot of times, is just putting it into a perspective that we can understand.
Yes.
But it's
Or
not
we
necessarily
can
the
say,
same
you're right.
perspective. It's just something that we have,
Not time as we know it.
not time as we know it, but we're just calling it 2,000 years.
For our
Yeah.
capacity to think and speak.
Right.
Are those two processes.
All right.
Or in Psalm 90 it says 1 day is like 1,000 years. Or
That
something
was
like
by
that.
King David.
Doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to.
That's again, that's why when we go to the physical world, some people look at the idea of the creation and say that the 7 days, how long was it? The whole time of a day was something just to put it into man's way of conceptualizing things. As a side note,
Yes.
if you look at Bereshit, you can fit the order of sequence in Bereshit
Yeah.
into the actual development of our physical world.
Or, and I wonder about this, I didn't want to go there, but I wonder about this, if our world was 24-hour periods, if there's a parallel
Clock, I mean,
occurring,
Parallel universe, parallel
yeah,
time.
the period
a
of
parallel
1 day.
time.
Right.
In other words,
Yeah.
and there is in Einstein, which I don't get.
Einstein.
Thank you.
Not Einstein.
Einstein, which I don't get. But that they're
Many
the
parallel
same thing.
yeah.
There, it could be measured in different times. The same thing that occurs, but okay. I
Frame of
probably shouldn't go
So
over.
watch more Star Trek. You'll find
There you
out
go.
more. It all
So
explains on there, right? The different universes.
Well, they were Jewish folks.
That's why.
Other writers in the creed.
that says a lot. So in any case,
In any case, after Hashem.
in any case,
After Hashem emanated the first three Sifirot, which is Keser, Chochmah, Bina, the intellect, he emanated the next seven Sifirot, the emotions, whereas the emanation of the first three Sifirot is described as occurring on the same day. The emanation of the seven latter Sefirot is described as occurring on a different day. Okay? So the last Sephirah, Malchut, was emanated on the seventh day. And this was the first Shabbos.
okay.
That's that,
Emanation of
the
Asian
paragraph
civilization.
on,
Okay, wait, so just do the math. It's confusing a little. You got
Let's say-
three
The
on
sentence is a
one,
little
and then
bit-
you've got
Seven on the
the
other.
next seven.
Well, it didn't say when the seven started.
Okay,
Right.
You
well,
could have
I
had the first
understand.
day. You could have had Chachma Bina Das,
we should have in 6.
and then
correct?
the first day could have also been Chesed.
Yeah,
Or it could be that the
yeah,
three,
keep doing that.
the
though.
first three are
Because you
this
got seven.
proto-time.
Yeah,
still got
it's
seven.
6.
The first three, Chacham, Keser,
Yeah,
Keser, Chachma,
or-
Bina,
Yeah.
I was used to the Chabad one, could have happened proto-time, and then the seven emotional attributes take place during the 7 days of the
Could
week.
be.
Okay.
Right, so the three happen before time even is in
Oh,
existence.
that's what he's gonna say.
But 7,
That's what
And
he's
then the
gonna say.
seven
but the
come
7
place
shouldn't
of-
be
That's
including
exactly what I was
Malchus.
gonna say.
Zerampin, there's 6, correct?
Yeah.
Not 7.
No, but with Malchus.
With
it's
Malchus.
Yeah, but then,
Malchus is
seven.
counted as.
Zerampin is 6, and then
Yeah,
Malchus
yeah.
is 7. So
But-
there's
but
your
he's
7.
seven on the second
so
day.
he's got a point that this is proto-time.
The
This
three
is
is
before.
proto-time, and then the
This
seven
is,
is
and then the
7
7 follow measured by days.
But he's
The
gonna say that.
second.
Rizal is gonna say that.
We're gonna say.
alright, okay. See?
Okay.
Answers, answers, good.
Very good. Okay, Yoel, you want to go ahead?
Sure.
Or Rudy, you want?
Rudy.
Oh, okay.
No,
When he emanated,
Proxy.
When he emanated these first three, he did not do so in a wholly rectified manner, and they were not fully and properly rectified. Therefore, this day is not counted.
Aha.
That's even different.
In a holy rectified manner.
So it could have come before the first day,
That's that's pre-day.
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 Yes.
The exact nature of this not fully rectified emanation will be explained later.
Naturally.
Afterwards, he emanated a different group of sphirot in 7 other days. These are the mystical correlates of the kings who ruled in the land of Edom. On the Shabbat, or the Sabbath, the 7th day of this primordial week, the 8th king, Hadar, was also emanated.
He was the only positive one, as I remember.
The only,
Positive of those kings.
how, why?
He had, his wife was mentioned, as I recall.
Yeah.
He had a family, and they talked about his progeny a little. The other Edomite kings, no way.
The
They-
first 7, there's 2 things different about the 8th.
Yeah,
One, his wife is mentioned,
wife was mentioned.
and second, it doesn't say that he died.
Yeah, didn't,
But the first 7, it doesn't mention a spouse,
right.
and it doesn't say, and it only says
I
they
thought
died.
yeah.
Means that they didn't last. And the idea of having a wife, it shows that there was room for someone else.
Other than the ego.
For something else,
ego.
yes.
The self-love,
Selfishness.
which was the Edomite problem.
Okay. On the 7th day.
The emanation of the next 7 sphirot is spoken of as occurring in 7 days, 1 day for each sphira. But since, as we said, this all is occurring before the creation of time, what this essentially means is that each sphira is a separate entity. These 7 sphirot will, when time is created, manifest themselves as the 7 days of the week, each sphira dominating a particular day. It is told in the Torah that there were 8 kings who ruled the land of Edom before there was a king in the land of Israel. Of the first 7 of these kings, the Torah states that they ruled and they died, while of the 8th, Hadar, it only records that he ruled, not mentioning his death. Since Edom symbolizes the unrectified existence of evil, the first 7 kings are understood to refer to the primordial, unrectified version of creation described here, the world of Tohu.
So we're talking about Tohu. We're talking about this first emanation taking place in the primordial world of Tohu. Right? Well,
So in the realm of evil,
it's
or where evil is born, where evil emanates, has the possibility to
where it
exist.
emanated
Emanates from.
from,
The
before born,
Before born.
pre-born,
The place where it's possible for evil to then come into existence. Would you say that's stated?
that what?
It seems like this text is making a parallel between, well, these 7 sphirot we're not talking about the regular emotive attributes, so we're talking about negative sphirot? Or are we talking about
Yes,
the regular
or
sphirot
spirit belonging to the realm
of Tohu?
of evil,
Of evil.
or tohu, yeah.
And this realm of Tohu was the one that, this was the proto-time that we're discussing. This is the
We're talking about, we're using the term days, but it's not really,
no,
it's not real days.
I know, I understand that. I'm saying this world of Tohu
chaos.
is the first or second step towards creation. Where does Tohu, this world of Tohu?
It's a step prior to our
Pre.
creation.
Pre.
Maybe he'll
Dispersion.
explain
Before
over,
creation.
because
Before this creation, before
well, where
before
we are
physical
is,
creation.
yeah, but here he says that he
Before
started off
creation.
with.
Oh, creation. That's my question.
Before
See,
Bereshit.
Pre-Bereshit. Okay, so then
Yes,
so then
version
pre-physical
1.1,
world.
Pre-
we may be 1.2.
It's the beginning.
Or
in
2.1,
the
who
beginning of
knows?
Bereshit, there's Tohu. Right in the first couple of.
Very different.
Right, tohu vavohu.
Okay, right.
Right.
Then
And then creation
and then
begins.
creation. Then and light. Then
And then-
light.
so
Then
then-
there's light, or, okay, or that light, that or Ein Sof, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That's a beginning. So before that is Tohu.
Uh-huh.
All right, and so what this says, which is very freaky, is that evil, unrectified energy happens first. Doesn't it?
Well, here it says,
I was just throwing it out.
Yeah, yeah. No,
here it says that they. Here it says that first came the 10 spheres, then came the spheres of Tohu. But we'll see.
I didn't get that.
Bottom of 612, afterwards.
Afterwards, he emanated. That's right. Afterwards, he emanated a different group of Sephiros in these 7 other days. These are the correlates of the kings who ruled in the land on the 7th day. But that's after he emanated the first 3.
Right.
After the first 3.
The first, he
there's
did
3.
not do so in a wholly rectified manner. They were not fully and properly rectified. Therefore, that day is not counted. So the first 3 take place in the primordial world of Tohu. That's
Okay, so it says on 612, to explain when God emanated the 10 spheres, he first emanated the first 3,
Three.
and they were not in a wholly rectified manner.
Right.
They were not fully rectified, developed, and then he first emanated this. After this was the first, and then came the next 7.
Then came the next.
So this is an explanation of that.
Right.
Okay. Okay, Gershon?
Oh,
Yeah,
it's a good lesson
this is
for me that
explanation.
it's okay.
This refers to that. The lower portion refers to the upper portion.
Okay, 613.
So the first time I do the recipe, it's okay to screw it up, and then
Yes, it was a recipe. Okay?
he was making it up, I guess.
Making what?
Making it up, correct? Creation.
What do you say? Tough?
Making it up.
Making it
As
up.
he went
I
along.
decided to save some battery. I took out
Yeah.
my hearing aids before I came today. I
Big mis-
usually do.
Big mistake.
Big mistake.
No,
You didn't want to
You
hear
had,
it.
you had steak
Yes.
for supper?
Yes.
Nice.
So where are we?
usually
Since
take
the
it
first
out.
3, that's where we are.
613 in the middle.
Since the first 3 Sephiros were, that's where we are.
Slow,
That's
slow,
Right
where we
there.
are.
slow.
Yeah, slow down.
Since the first
hold on a second, hold on.
first.
Since the first. No.
Yeah,
Are we
hold
there?
on. Hold on. Okay.
Yeah, that's where we are.
Since, okay,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
there with you.
Since the first 3
Goes
Sephiros were not yet fully rectified, all these kings died. Since they were not rectified above, these kings could not bear the supernal light of the emanator. Thus, since all these kings evinced strict judgment, they all died and were nullified. The perfection of the emotions is dependent upon the rectification of the intellect, since emotional responses are primarily the result of some idea that is understood. The rectification of these Sephiros lacked was their ability to contain or absorb the light, that means creative energy, of Hashem. If they're in their fragility, they shatter as soon as the higher light attempted to shine through them. The reason why these Sephiros were so fragile was because they were immature and undeveloped. In this iteration, the Sephiros were simple, one-dimensional manifestations of Hashem's attributes and did not include any aspects of their sister Sephiros. Oh.
This we had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he remembers, I don't. They were therefore incapable of accepting any content other than their own intrinsic one. This rejection of anything not consonant with one's own worldview is the mentality of a strict judgment, Dean.
Wow.
But that's selfishness, correct?
Sounds-
It's like a gevura, a negative gevura, a
Closed-minded.
closed gevura
Closed-minded, I think.
But that's, in a sense, that's what, it's like gvura to the extreme.
to the extreme. Yeah, gevura without any ability to get warmed by chesed, without any chesed in it. It's strict on its own.
What I'm thinking is the inability to hear an opinion different than your own.
Which is an extreme form.
No, I
of-
think you're wrong. I think you're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
which is, I think, an extreme form of self-absorption.
It is.
Because everybody else, it's almost a political thing we can comment on, but everybody else's opinion is wrong. I, the big ego I, am right. You see? I am right. You are wrong. I am right. So that's that egotistical, narcissistic, going back to the same problem, where nothing else exists but the self.
And describes again the root of evil.
Self-adjournment, yeah.
This is found in the 49 days of Sfiras Omer
In
in
the-
regards to the passing away of Rabbi Akiva's students. The Midrash says that they were not accepting one another. They weren't respecting one another's opinions.
Really?
And within this,
Really?
the Sfirot were not, they were rigid and
Boys.
focused.
Yes.
They were rigid and focused on their own. You want me to re-say what I was saying?
Yes.
No, no,
anyway.
wait.
The 49 days of the Omer,
Yeah.
along with being a commandment from
should
the
have
Oraita
seen
from the
two, correct?
Torah, also within that time period took place the passing of Rabbi Akiva's students,
Yeah.
correct? So
Maybe.
They
the
didn't,
Just a
Midrash-
second. They lost the Super Bowl, okay? They lost. There's nothing to
Mike
check.
Daniels is not living.
Listen, let's
So
go
the
ahead, Theo.
There's
Pay attention.
this explanation on why they passed away was because they were not. Rabbi Akiva stood for do unto others as you.
Avas
Yisrael,
Yisrael.
essentially. Yeah,
Avas
to
Yisrael.
put it simply, Avas Yisrael. And the students of Rabbi Akiva were not accepting of others' opinions, of their counterparts' opinion, of their Chavrus's
Right.
opinion. They were very tunnel vision
Self-absorbed.
on what they were thinking.
Well,
Self-absorbed.
ego.
This 49 days is also parallel to this
Yes.
counting that we're discussing, but also parallel to the reason why there was Shviras HaKelim, why there was a shattering of the vessels, because the Sfirot were not
Mixing.
inter-included, they were not mixing, they were
Correct.
focused on their own character. They weren't focused on their own opinion. So there was a shattering of the vessels, AKA death. There was destruction, right?
Yeah, it didn't work.
Exactly.
And this manifested in this world also with regards to 49 days of the spirit of the passing of Rabbi Akiva's students. Right?
Yes.
That they were not, it was a Shviras HaKelim.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a shattering of the vessels because they weren't,
they
it wasn't
had
chesed.
There's-
no possibility for room to respect another.
Right.
So that was a physical
So
manifestation
their
of
love was a self-love.
Right.
Which
so-
is also
The
an
root
evil.
of evil,
An
yeah.
evil.
Right.
An
No, I'm
evil.
just saying that this parallel to
Yeah.
this.
It is.
To this
We
spiritual
keep coming
explanation.
back.
And the same thing, what he's saying is that Rabbi Akiva's students died,
Died,
just
right.
like
There was a
The
Shviras
the,
Kings.
the Kalim, just like the
Died.
Kalim, all shattered.
Right.
Yeah.
Did we have that in Hecholtzu?
Was Echotsu.
Hecholtzu. You keep referencing it, the mimer that we learned.
You mean Basilagani? Oh, yeah, the other one. Yeah,
other
we never
one.
finished that one
The
either.
day of the tornado.
That's what it was.
We were learning the day of the tornado.
But what I remember, it says that in this world, not in Tohu, but even opposites, they have themselves. Like fire, correct? You burn most things, and you get water out of it.
Moisture.
And if you split water and hydrogen oxygen, you burn it again, you get fire. So even in opposites, correct, water and fire, they are a little bit of themselves. So the end of Tohu, the end of hatred, is to realize that even in the opposite, there is a little bit of
The
yourself.
repair of Tohu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, tikkun.
Tikkun
Tikkun.
olam. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Very good, Yoel.
Tikkun.
I have already explained
Hold on.
elsewhere.
Wait,
Hold on.
did you,
Bottom.
No, you
So
didn't.
this rejection of anything not consonant with one's own worldview is a mentality of
You
strict
didn't do
judgment. One of the things that we said,
You didn't do this one.
He did.
Yeah, he
read
did.
that.
You did?
read that.
Okay.
one of the things that we said about
Okay, yeah.
din is to be discerning
Oh, yeah.
and to analyze a concept. That is what din is all about.
Okay.
So here it is being so critical and so discerning that you don't allow anything. You don't validate or approve
Anything.
anything. That's not your own
We
idea.
know people like that. Okay.
I had a discussion yesterday, and we turned to politics in general, and then we
That's
started
dangerous.
getting personal.
That's dangerous.
Ad hominem.
I had a fun, huh?
Ad hominem.
You
Ad
enjoy
hominem.
that.
Yeah, I was just smiling and this,
Yeah.
and the
The other person goes
person
crazy.
explained to me that they said that this is what they said, not my opinion, okay? They said that the Russian mentality is to stand on your own opinion. I said the Americans, they like the Americans is that you can not agree, and still have a discussion and be friends.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah, I hate that phrase.
Me
I don't know why. So, anyways, so that was yesterday. I was entertained. I thought it was funny. So okay, we're at 6:13 at the bottom. Gershon,
I
ready?
have already explained elsewhere regarding the supernal rectification process that it consists of separating screens that enable the lower entities to receive light greater than their intrinsic level without being blinded. This is similar to how someone is blinded by looking at the light of the sun. Thus, the dimming of the light is not a bad thing, but on the contrary, the rectification.
Uh-oh.
By screening the divine light, Hashem created a new, more stable world that could withstand and transmit the light it received. The intensity of each sephira would be less, but this lack of intensity would enable each sephira to accommodate the personality of its sister sephiros. The combined strength of each sephira present in the others would enable the world comprising them to endure the divine light shining into it.
But this is saying that for the first set, for Tohu, there was extreme din, judgment, aggressive. So we're thinking, well, then din is bad.
No, din is good.
Din is
That's
not bad.
good. That's
Now
the
he
trick
says
part.
that din isn't bad. It's only din that allows our world to be created, to exist, and to tolerate the light. It's the din that is the screen that dims the light in intensity and in quality, and therefore each level can exist with the limited degree of light that is coming through. That is the function of din: aggressive, severity, judgment.
So this is parallel with the statement that in the Midrash that Hashem initially created the world with din and saw it couldn't endure, and then created it with chesed.
Yes.
But the next my question is there's within the text I see a jump. So there's Shviras HaKelim, because each sphere wasn't able to wasn't receiving from one another, and then there's Tzimtzum, right? Is that what this is being described right now? The creation of Tzimtzum.
Okay.
Is that what these
Yeah.
Apparently.
Deeming.
That's what
It
it
doesn't
is.
use that word, but yes.
But,
Simpsons
okay.
taking place.
How does there's a jump? What happens in between? Are pieces of the kalim used as the tzimtzum, or is Hashem created rectification after Shviras HaKelim and creates this concept of tzimtzum? What happens?
The
between those two?
light.
There's shattering, and then how shattering takes place, and then how's the rectification? That's
From
what I'm
scratch?
asking.
But Simpson, let me just throw this out. Tzimtzum can be confused and you start thinking of it as a separation.
No,
I was-
it's a restriction, a constriction.
Well, it's just,
It's a
from
constriction.
the original, different separation, Hashem is separate, becomes more separate with Tzimtzum. And we don't think that way.
Or
We
here.
think, if we look at Tzimtzum in the way of Or Ein Sof, don't look at it as Hashem constricting. or
No, I don't
constricting.
at all.
Look at it as just the light.
Yeah,
The light being constricted.
yeah, yeah.
The
I don't-
only the light being constricted. And this is saying that when Gevurah comes in a proper way and screens the process, proper Gevurah, proper alignment with Chesed, then the light can touch and interact with the different,
No, I understand that.
touching the different
My
Gevurah.
question is what takes place in between. That's a natural process, and this is what's taking place now, right? I'll stop. I won't.
No,
ask
can
it.
you go? I didn't hear what Rudy said. You said that's your question.
I said that the shards, the breakage, the leftover, that material that was broken, that was shattered, that became the material in the formation of the universe.
It's all processed.
Well, where is
Yeah,
that brought
I mean,
down? That's what I'm
the-
asking.
That's the
Where's-
basis for the universe.
That's-
For?
For the universe.
Yeah, well,
It's Hashem's choice.
don't
No,
know.
but I'm just asking about the middle ground
If
between the
you're
two
taking
steps.
holy
There is
out-
no
if you're
middle
taking
ground.
So just a
holiness-
jump from Shirasakim to.
Yeah.
Their
To
middle
construction.
ground, their middle
To-
ground,
I can't hear two
You
conversations.
cannot create something tactile from holy. Holy has to transform into something
it has to
tactile.
transform. Right.
And that was that transformation that created the tactile material to create this universe
From those shards.
from those shards.
And
At
the
molecular
light
level,
remains
Hashem-
remains to be rectified.
And
And that's why it's here.
It required Elohim or Din to create for the process of creation. And Yud Kei Vav Kei was inserted for the sustaining of this universe. Because if it were just Elohim, then it would not exist. It could not exist.
Okay, could be,
Could be,
could be.
I don't know if there's a
That's-
middle.
That's
I think it's all one
what we're
flow.
learning.
Back when
Yeah, I appreciate what
That-
you
that's-
said.
that's
when I
what-
burned the first
Yeah.
cake, I
If
don't
you look at it as
recycle.
this, no, if you look
No,
at
I'm
it
not.
as this.
Yeah,
No,
that's
in the
this
sense,
middle
you don't
part.
need
Could
to
be, I don't remember
reuse.
seeing
No, you
anything
can't.
that,
If it's an
I'm
infinite
looking like
source,
this, and I want to know about this.
No, but
why
it's
bother
Let's go.
recycling?
let-
And if the
Do it
shards
that way.
are
Do
out
it that way.
there,
I don't remember reading.
then we
That's the
can
only way I can say
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
It's like
pick
that.
That
up the
explains it.
shards. So I don't think, I know nothing, just
Better than 1,000 words.
What
Well, I don't know
explains
how to-
what you
I don't know how to
mentioned.
say that, but it's
I-
like that.
How
I
else
received
did it
it.
happen?
Okay.
The shards just disappeared and Hashem.
no, the shards are out there for Tikkun Olam to put, to rescue,
With the lights there.
the good part of
The
it. We
lights
have to.
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
don't
The-
think
the
it's
spirit-
it's
the
the
holy
I
part.
don't think it's the material to make the
No, but
universe.
the holy part of it is still there. But
It's there.
Of course, Hashem used what?
It's infinite, so it can create whatever the heck
We
he
are-
wants.
Of course.
He doesn't need a
We're
shard.
cleaning up.
Yep.
We are cleaning up and collecting the shards.
And elevating them. back.
Elevating, repairing
They
them,
told me that
whatever.
food
But
has.
the shards, no, but still, I mean.
Look
this
at me,
table-
I
this
eat as
table,
much
this
as I
inanimate
can.
Object possesses Hashem's
Yes,
essence.
absolutely, everything
So,
does.
so the molecules that compose this table can only stay the way that it is because of Hashem's.
But
essence.
Hashem's
now, they're being
continually
Yes.
creating
according-
it. There's a continual creative
Correct.
process at the same time. That's over and against everything.
wirelessly-
You go this
wirelessly-
way and the
wirelessly
continual
plugged
process
in.
happening. So that's why I keep doing,
And-
That's, yeah, I like
you
it.
got that?
I
You
like
got
it.
this and that going on at
Yes,
the
yeah,
same
and
time.
You have to.
You can't
Because
do
this
it
doesn't
boom, boom,
exist
boom.
without
It's gotta
this.
go like that. Right,
I hear you.
okay?
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, 614,
Right.
near the top. Who's reading?
Still me.
I think you're-
Still, when the eighth
I-
king Hadar was emanated, he emerged more rectified than the others did. He manifested the Sephirah of Yesod. This was on the first Shabbos.
Now, hold on a second here.
Yeah.
So
As
that
we
would-
have
That would be
said.
Friday night. Friday night.
Let's go ahead.
As we have said, the
I think
princi-
it'll explain, Jim.
Okay.
like always,
Yeah.
the
like
principal reason why the world of Tohu shattered was because the Sephiros in it were too egocentric, I guess in English,
Yeah.
to interrelate. The reason this was so was because the predominant aspect of these sephiros was their malchus. Each sephira of Tohu was in effect nothing more than the malchus of that sephira in general. Okay. Malchus is the sephira of the ego, inasmuch as it expresses the drive to rule, to impose oneself on reality. The malchus of the sephiros clashed, and therefore the entire structure collapsed. The eighth king, or emanation, in contrast, was constructed out of the yesods of the various sephiros.
Yesod of the various spheres, as opposed to the malchus
Correct.
of the various spheres.
Yeah, because it's version 2. Yesod is the sephira of interconnection par excellence, because everything is connected to all, to the
It's the foundation.
the other.
It's
Interconnected.
the foundation of all the others.
Yeah,
The
you know,
they
the-
call it foundation.
I'm visual.
Since
Where am I?
since it
Yesod
expresses
is a sphera. Start at the beginning of the line.
Per excellent.
The eighth king.
Yesod.
Yes,
Yesod-
it is the sephira of interconnection par excellence, since it expresses the drive and ability to relate and connect with another entity. Right.
right.
Which is the masculine.
Which is what?
Masculine, in a way.
The
We talked about it in a masculine sensibility. We have to
The-
understand it in that sense.
Yeah, the Yesod in what we were speaking about a lot in our class, what you're saying, is that Yesod represents the drive.
The drive.
The connection to the next one is the Yesod is what connects the Za with Nukva, the masculine,
yeah,
with feminine. The
It connects-
Yesod represents the Bris Milah.
The bris milah connecting
The
to the female.
Malchus represents the drive to rule, to impose oneself on reality. So even though usually we say that Malchus is in a sense an empty sphera, it is usually we talk about it as a sphera which doesn't have any,
It receives.
it only receives from the others. It doesn't have its own identity, just what it takes from the others. Over here, we were talking about Malchus as the expression, as the
Exaggeration of that sphere.
the feelings to rule, to control other
It's
people.
your own.
It's a self-oriented
Idea.
process
And it
without Yesod interacting with it. It becomes a self-oriented process.
So in the Malchus is, it was the Malchus of each of the spheres in Tohu, the Malchus within Chesed, and the Malchus within Gevura, and so on, that was dominant for each of those spheres.
So they couldn't interrelate with one another.
There was no interrelation.
Did not play well with others.
So why is it on the
Right,
eighth-
does not play, that was one of the things on the report card.
Why is this-
Does not play well with others.
Why does this eighth sphera make us switch to Yesod? Or why is it contains the Yesods of all the other...
That's who he was.
In version
That's just
2.
how Hashem created it.
That was his identity.
The eighth king, yeah.
So you start to shift.
Think of it differently. I think of it differently. Not why did he, but each of these kings personifies a certain characteristic, a certain personality, a certain attribute. When we use the terms, this king, that king, the eighth king, forget about the actual kings and think about it as the characteristics, the characteristic or attribute that they personify. When we're talking about the first 7 kings, we are talking not about kings, but we're talking about attributes which are self-centered and don't leave room for anything else.
Right.
When we speak about the 8th king, we are talking about a character or about a person, about an attribute or about a trait that allows for others and connects, relates with others and
Not-
connects with
not
others.
here.
So you ask me why?
No,
Why
I'm
the
just
eighth
trying
king
to
was like that.
conceptualize it.
What?
I'm
Yeah.
trying to conceptualize it. It looks like it's going, it starts from the 3 intellectual attributes, goes through the emotive ones, down to Malchut, right? And then it looks like it reverses. It goes to Yesod because Yesod is before Malchut.
Well,
Why is the
Think of
eighth
it.
one?
Think of it this way: the first three were the
No, that's
intellect,
Yeah.
and they were not developed.
Right. Right.
Then come the 8 kings. The first king is the attribute of Chesed, but Chesed contains within it all the spheros. There's
Right.
there's
that
Chachma
one
of
is-
Chesed, there's
Yeah,
Gvura
parts
of Chesed,
parts-
and so
parts
on.
of them, Parts of them.
Within Chesed, there are
They're talking about the Malchus of.
Yeah.
there are subdivisions. So the Malchus of Chesed was dominant,
Yeah.
meaning that Chesed. Why was this Chesed incapable of relating to others? Because the Malchus was dominant.
Yeah.
The second king is Gevura, to an extreme degree.
That's the
The
din.
second is
That's exactly
Gevura.
the din that they were talking
Within Gevura, there are subdivisions. The Malchus of this Gevura was dominant, which means that it did not allow for room for anything else or anyone else. And so on for the third king, which was Tiferes. The Malchus is dominant, and so on for the first 7. When you come to the 8th, by the
It's
8th,
time to
the
try
Malchus is
something
no
else.
longer dominant. Over here, the Yesod is dominant,
That king did not die, and.
which
that-
means that
and
there's
that
room for
king-
others.
No, but I'm saying
And-
it's interesting how it goes like this, down to Malchut, and then the 8th king is going the opposite direction now.
No.
No,
There's 11, right?
no. It
There's
does-
11.
It doesn't, you're not
For
descending.
negative for Tumah, there's 11 spherot, parallel to the 11 ingredients of Ketoret.
We're talking about the emotions here.
I know, but there's 8 plus 3, that's 11.
8 plus 3 what?
There's
Kings?
8 kings, and there's 3 intellect, and there's 3, no?
there's
No.
still
No.
7.
The three, the
emotions.
kings correspond to the emotions.
Right.
They do not correspond to the
I
intellect.
know, but there's 3 intellectual during this proto time that was discussed, that were underdeveloped, that was immature, causing a Shiras
It,
Akalim.
it didn't say which Sphira the 8th king was.
Because if you limit it to spheres,
Oh.
you've used them up.
Hold on.
No,
It didn't say,
There are 11.
it didn't say,
There are 11 for the Tumah.
no,
for-
it didn't say,
for impurity.
are you talking about something else? It didn't say,
I'm wondering if that's bridged here.
no.
No.
It didn't say which Sphira was the 8th king.
It's not saying that.
The first 7 kings correspond to the first 7 spheras.
They're,
To the 7 emotions.
they're corresponding
Chesed
to the
to
Mal-
Malchus.
So
to
then this
the-
8th king is just one of those 7 that now its character.
Its predominant character is Yesod as opposed to Malchus. If you
But
take.
hold on. But the first king was Chesed. Within Chesed, there's a subdivision of 10 spheras.
That's right.
Malchus was dominant.
That's what I was saying. The
So
Mal-
this
do you
is how I
understand?
see it.
Repeat the last sentence you just said.
The
Repeat it.
first king was the attribute of Chesed.
Yes.
The Chesed itself
Yeah.
is subdivided into the 10 spheras.
Yeah.
The Malchus was dominant.
Yeah.
In the next one, Gvura, the Malchus again is dominant.
I understand.
And
yeah.
so on.
Yeah.
So we're going down.
Yeah.
Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Nesach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchus.
The eighth
In
king-
each of them, the Malchus was dominant.
I get
Except
that.
for
Yeah.
the
The 8th king, we didn't say that it was Chesed, we didn't say it was Gvura, we didn't say it was Tiferes. All that we said was that within its subdivision, Malchus wasn't dominant,
Right.
Yesod was dominant. So we're not going
So that there's
like this
connection.
and back up. We're going down. We didn't say what the 8th king is. All we said is that by the
It could have been any
Could
of
have
them.
been any.
all we're saying is that by the others, the Malchus is dominant, and Malchus within that sphera was dominant. And here we're saying the Yesod is dominant.
Let me ask you a side question. I don't want to distract the whole thing. Isn't the 11, with the 11 spheros, you're familiar with what I'm talking about, with regards to Tumah? The 11th one is Klipot Noga, correct?
I'm not that familiar with it. And let's
The
leave that out.
11th
Let's
one
leave it
would
out of
be
the discussion.
Hadar within this
Let's leave
conversation.
it.
Okay,
Leave that out of
leave
the
it.
discussion.
There is a
Fine.
possibility,
I'm just saying
correct?
the 11th one is Klipot
But
Noga.
that's not.
Okay.
Which
that's-
could be Hadar, which
Could
is
be.
what
It
we're
could
referring to as
be.
the 8th. anyways,
Could be.
We don't know.
Could
Don't
be,
know.
could be
It
good.
could be,
This
He
guy I
doesn't go
see-
into that.
it could be
So,
whatever.
Homer
The point
Simpson
was-
is creating.
Homer Simpson.
Okay, yes. So the first one has Malchut dominant,
I
and he
get all
goes,
of it. I understand
duh!
all of it. I was-
It didn't work.
I get the
And
problem.
he goes
I
again,
was asking
The
is-
bottom
7
line
times,
is
and they
that
say,
you
"Whoa,
sowed-
finally, after census, let's try
bottom
yes
line is-
dominant." Oh, that worked.
to
That's fine.
I thought it was the hokey
It's
pokey.
bottom line though.
Well, that's
is-
what it's all about.
represents a different,
Parallels to each one of the 11.
right,
That's
And
true,
that's
but
what
the
I was-
bottom line is Yesod is the king.
has to
And why is Yesod the king? Because if you read the Kings, again, that's the other part that comes up. They don't talk about death. And that king married, okay, had a family, had an
Could relate.
other, had
Right.
another person.
Right.
And had relationship and was not tied in the ego. So you look at it in a metaphorical concept.
yeah.
All
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he was asking some, there was
I
other
get
things
it.
he was
I get all
asking.
of
But
I
it's very
understand,
possible.
things.
I understand he did that. but-
This-
but
Okay.
That's not-
I understand. I'm
Maybe
just-
it does.
Correct,
though.
it doesn't,
Yeah.
but it could be.
Maybe it does.
Because what you're saying is interesting, because it would be like an intermediate, you know, clip
Yes,
an
and a
organ, half and half.
rectification.
You like that, Cap?
It's true there's a rectification with the eighth king.
6:14.
Outside of
Gershon.
it, I'll-
What?
Alan.
Please, he said.
Alan, after this.
I hear you, but I'm just.
A-
Yeah.
After this, the first 3 Sephiros were rectified, as described in the Zohar. Then the second week emerged, that is, the 7 lower Sephiros, which we call nowadays Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Yesod, and Malchus. Malchus issued on the 7th day, the Shabbos.
And that's the second week.
Out of this emanation emerged a second set of 7 midos from Chesed to Malchus, which were more fully rectified than the first set of 7 kings. This second set of 7 constituted a second week, or Shabbos cycle.
That's why Shabbos is
And-
said in the beginning of Kedoshim.
And
Okay.
not, yeah, again, this doesn't mean that the second week of creation. This is all stuff
yeah.
going on before,
Chronologically, second week.
yeah.
Whatever
You know, we
that
say the
means.
word before,
Yeah, this is before.
and before has a number of meanings. You can mean before earlier in time, or you just say before earlier in degree.
Yeah.
Thus, we have 2 Shabboses, the first being the first Shabbos when Hadar was emanated, and the second Shabbos when Malchus was emanated the second time. This is the mystical meaning of the 2 Shabboses that are mentioned in many places, as we said above.
Yeah. We solved the mystery.
Well, no, we
I'll finish
didn't.
So the first
Oh, the
Shabbos
second
when
Shabbos.
Hadar was emanated,
But-
the 8th king.
Right.
So evil is first.
There's an extra.
Evil
there's
is
an extra
first, which is the,
eminent-
which
there's
is,
an
which is,
extra
which is
character
the
on
big
first
kicker here.
Shabbos.
The big kicker is evil is first.
Yeah, that goes,
That's true.
Right.
that aligns,
You needed evil for
that aligns with
Sefira, for
Rudy's theory.
Yep.
We're gonna, Rudy's
Right into
axiom,
his- right into the axiom, yeah.
razor, Rudy's razor.
There-
That's what we'll call it. Yes.
I
There-
mean,
it's-
it gives us
I'm not gonna
purpose.
harp on it.
It gives us a hell of a lot of purpose, doesn't it? It does create our
Finish
purpose
the page?
if evil is
Finish the
first.
page?
No, we're gonna stop here.
Okay.
Perfect place.
It gives us a sense of
Hold
why
on.
we're here.
The evil.
Evil,
Yeah,
to deal with
there's-
evil,
there's
to
no free
deal
choice.
with
There's
do
evil.
no
one
free
more?
will. This world is not finite. if
It's
there's no-
not a question of free will,
Hey.
it's servitude.
He
Who
copyrighted that
do
one.
you serve?
Right.
Yeah,
So,
finish the
and
page,
that's how you deal with evil.
I think.
Yeah, I think, huh?
Which is free will.
Yeah.
Let's-
Which is choice and non-choice at the
Okay,
same
go
time.
this.
Which is
Okay, we're gonna do one
which
more.
is
We're gonna do one more
What?
paragraph.
Which
You have your
creates,
place?
king.
Yeah.
You will now understand the mystical reason why we call the 7 millennia we are presently living in the second sabbatical period. It's because they are the second order of creation after the kings of the land of Adam. Thus, our present sabbatical period of 7,000 years is not the second because it was preceded by another period of 7,000 physical years, but because it follows the spiritual period of Tohu. the emanation of the 7 kings that preceded the present order, that of Tikkun.
So we're not in the second cycle of 7.
What? So are we in the first or the
Or
second?
the first.
The first.
The first.
The other one was
The
before.
first spiritual one.
The second one from Tohu.
We're in
But
the
if we're
first
talking about-
physical one, maybe that.
If we're talking about 49,000 years,
Right.
we're only in the first set.
We're in the
First physical set.
Yeah, we're just starting our
Don't
journey. Yes.
worry. This
It's-
reminds me
Hadar
of.
is an extra character. It says in the text we just read, it said this Malchus emanates on the second Shabbat. On the first Shabbat, there's Malchus and then Hadar.
It said the first
But it's
Shabbat was Hadar.
Hadar.
No, but there's Malchus. Malchut did emanate on the first Shabbos
Yeah.
also,
Yeah,
Right.
which
according
means
to
that
Leslie.
there is an extra. There is Hadar, which is an extra.
Yeah, I don't know.
It
Hadar.
means have emanation.
I know. I hear what you're saying.
11. That's what I'm saying. There's 11. There's not 10.
You could
on
get
the
into
first.
that number, yes, I.
No, it's not
We
11.
don't have 11.
I don't think so.
But
The
there's
eighth
this
day.
concept that we're not. There's concept of 11 spirits within Tohu.
Football
within
has 11
impurity.
players.
Within evil, there's 11.
It does say-
which is rectified by the
Got to
Torah.
go
I
with
don't
the
know that
flow.
that's. I don't know. I don't know that that's
So
so.
you follow what
that
I'm saying?
connects.
You follow?
I hear
Football,
what you're saying.
mystical,
I
but
don't
we
know
don't-
that idea
That's
applies to
parallel
the
with
same.
this. Okay.
No,
I
not
can
here.
accept that.
Maybe next. Next
off.
week.
The bottom-
Cliffhanger.
the Bottom line,
Are we turning it off or?
Oh, we're still talking. Oh
Yeah,
my
we're
God.
still on.
Yeah, so we're all set, guys.
We're all
Be
set.
well. Have a good week. Right, that one.
Blaspheming all day
bottom
long.
line is
1 minute.
evil.